Well, that being said, there were, at the previous public hearing, there was some general comments about that. And, I mean, if you weren't open until, I mean, this is just my opinion, but if you weren't open until 10 o'clock, I would say, why do you need lighting in the first place? But if you are, and, you know, I think it needs to be there. If it can be toned down, I mean, we made the comment that it is a 40-mile-an-hour zone there, and you wouldn't want something blasting somebody coming down the road.
Sure, and that was part of the reason I think why the historical review board recommended the two shorter signs as well, the 8-foot and more spread out, leading up to that stop sign heading south. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why we have since moved away from the taller sign, which is permitted.
And I've really never noticed any signs on that are backlit, aimed at night or anywhere in the city that are very bright. So, I mean, if our policy kind of covers all of that and adhere to that policy, I think I would, as long as it's toned, you know, I think we need to address this somehow.
Is there anything on the books, legal-wise, that requires the tenant to maintain lower light levels? And if so, are there any penalties involved with that not being done?
Just like all of our other ordinances, if there is a violation of that ordinance, a notice of violation may be issued, and then code enforcement would handle that process currently through municipal court.
How long does that process take?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Anna, can you help me understand something? This is the new guy. I don't understand under sign criteria B. What does that mean? That all structures on the property for which the sign is proposed that repeat the placement of the sign were constructed prior to February 17th, 1986.
So 1986 is when the city adopted a very strong sign ordinance, and so that was kind of like the grandfathering date. And I think that particular section is speaking to if there were an existing sign, say on an old historic building, and they wanted to expand it, they would have to say, yeah, the sign was here and the building was here before 1986.
So since we're not dealing with anything prior to that,
right?
Okay, I just didn't understand how what that is.
Can we put, if this board agrees to approve that, can we put something in this agreement about the panel if there's no business for that slot? That our, light barring panel would be inserted? Can we do that in our, if we agree to do it?
So you have the ability to approve the variance as it's requested, or you can approve the variance with conditions. I think because of the nature of this request, that probably would be an allowable condition, I would think, since you're doubling the number of signs. Less square footage would be the same, but you may have two instead of one. And so if the light produced by those two signs is a concern, then I think that would be a reasonable condition that you could include as part of the variance.
I think I have some concerns. I mean, hopefully there's no vacancies, but if at some point there are, having just 5 bright lights just up there, both from aesthetic and a light output, would be somewhat concerned.
Would the dimmer, what he was recommending earlier that they've done before, putting a dimmer on the sign, would that dimmer actually turn it off?
I believe it does have that component to it. I mean, yeah, with any of those electrical
Or even,
systems, typically you do have an off and on switch.
or even a timer.
The
You know,
timer is a
would be
component.
something that's not, take the human error out and
Yeah, and he might have referenced that in the call as well. Timer, I can't remember if we've used them in the past. I gotta imagine like any other light fixture, it's a similar component.
Is it lit up on both sides of each sign?
For these ones, I believe that is the case. It was on the 15-foot. Yes, it appears that it is. So it would just be, yeah, I think essentially the system is this one light that's in the middle and kind of translucent panels on either side, and it lights it up.
It's not like one of the TV screens where you.
No, it's not an LED.
So if you had, a place that wasn't filled, that would be, 4 blank places for signs on the 2 signs combined, correct? 2 on each side, 1 on each side of 2 signs.
Correct. There's one on each side. So if that is a factor, then yes, we'll say most of the leases are 10-year deals. So will give us time to kind of meet that. We already have a list kind of backing up for if anything becomes available down the line. So from my perspective, I hope and don't think that'll be an issue, but yeah, but yeah, definitely need a plan.
Yes.
Get it done. I make a motion that we approve this with the condition that if these, places on the sign are vacant, that some type of panel be put over that to reduce the light signature.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
I think, go ahead.
I'd like to suggest that in addition to that, that it have timer turned off at closing hours. Automatic.
Okay, we have a motion with the modification. Any further discussion?
I don't think another motion is necessary, but just to clarify, Jim, you want to modify your motion?
Sure. Let me just restate it. I recommend approval of this, adjustment, to the light signage with the stipulation that it does have a off switch when it's closed, and also if there are blank spaces on the sign, that they be covered with some type of panel to reduce the light signature. They cover it? Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carried. Number 7, adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.